Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm actually going to address the Jussie Smollett situation. When I tell you, oh my gosh, it just seems like it keeps going downhill for Jussie. It really does seem like it's going downhill for Jussie. So if you haven't heard, which you probably have by now, this whole story about him being attacked by MAGA supporters who yelled racial and homophobic slurs at him, saying that, this is MAGA country, you F word, N word, actually, let me go back to the start, to the beginning, okay? So we initially heard that Jussie Smollett was hospitalized after being attacked in a homophobic attack. At first, the news reports I saw said that it was a homophobic attack, and something told me, like, if this is also homophobic, then chances are this was a racial as well. So they said it was a homophobic and racial attack. Then we started hearing more and more information, piling on of the story. So at first he was just hospitalized in a homophobic attack. I saw the headline. I never went too in depth until the news reports said the in-depth story. So they were saying, yes, he was hospitalized due to a homophobic attack. Then it was a homophobic racist attack. And then, they were saying these were two MAGA supporters at 2 a.m. in Chicago when he was supposedly going down to Subway to get a sandwich. Okay, so in a way, I will admit my naivete and my lack of reading for the full story has been a reason why I initially believed him. And of course, it's part of the reason a lot of us initially believed him. And because, it's not surprising that something like this, especially in the Trump era, happened. You know what I'm saying? So aside from that, now you had people like Lovely T digging in and basically going at it because it took her a while to come out with her opinion on this story. And, at first, I believed everything he said. I believed everything the news reports were saying. I believed that this attack happened. Now, my thing was this. When it initially happened and they were mentioning that these were Trump-supporting, MAGA hat-wearing white supremacists that attacked him in a homophobic and racist attack, I, of course, definitely jumped on the bandwagon and I kind of kicked myself for it. But the reason I did was because it wasn't surprising. I think that's the main reason a lot of us did. And because, one, Jussie has never been known to be problematic, of course it's another reason to believe him. And two, it made us feel like, man, this can happen to anybody right now. We saw how Trump supporters acted when they found out that Trump was president-elect. Not even just inaugurated into the White House. When he was president-elect, we saw a lot of people getting attacked. There were hoaxes. Yes, there were some people who've been found out to have lied about their attacks, but there were other attacks that were real. There were people caught on video screaming, build the wall, and, go back to your country. Like, this is Trump country. Go back to where you came from. This is Trump country. Your life doesn't matter. There have been real attacks out there. So, of course, and the fact that we are dealing with the Trump era, it was definitely believable. Okay? Now, aside from that, Lovely T gives her opinion, and she really was the one who had me thinking. I'm a subscriber to Lovely T. I love her. I may not agree with 100% of everything she says, but most of which I do. Okay, so she says, okay, the report stated, at first the report stated just simply he was hospitalized due to an attack. And then they were saying these were MAGA hat wearing Trump supporters who were white supremacists, and they hurled out racist and homophobic slurs. So they were saying, hey, aren't you that N-word, F-word from Empire? And this is MAGA country, N-word. And now Lovely T breaks it down and says, okay, you claim that they hurled these slurs at you, that they beat you up, that you were going on your way to get some Subway, and that they threw bleach on you in the process of beating you up, and then they put a noose around your neck. Okay, so we got that part out of the way. All the stuff thrown in there, he put a lot of sauce on it, all the stuff thrown in there and everything like that. It was just awful on top of awful on top of awful, okay? That just really tugged at our heartstrings because it was so horrific in the way it was explained. So now she's thinking, okay, Well, this is downtown Chicago at 2, 3 a.m. and it's the polar vortex because yes, I'm in New York, I'm from New York, and we were going through the same thing. It was frigid outside. So imagine how it is at 2 a.m. because if it's going to be frigid during the day where the sun is out, it's definitely going to be super cold at night, especially during winter. Okay, so Lovely T breaks it down. She said, you claim they threw bleach on you, but she looked up and found out what temperature does bleach freeze, and apparently bleach freezes at 20 degrees, and this was below 0 degree weather in Chicago because we were dealing with the polar vortex, okay? So if you claim they threw bleach on you, the bleach would have froze by the time they would have happened to see you. And what are they doing just walking around with bleach at that time of night? Now, granted, I want to call this out now. Just because they may have had bleach in their hand and noose in their hand, you don't know. There are always people who decide one day, hey, let's go commit a crime. Hey, let's go do something reckless. Hey, let's go attack some people. This has been happening during civil rights. You'll just have like a black person, a person of a marginalized group just walking the streets at night, late at night, and then, you know, they get spotted by some anti-black, anti-LGBTQ, anti-woman. They get spotted by people who don't like them just crossing paths and then just decide, hey, I don't like you, so I'm going to attack you. So people are like, okay, that's why people believed it, because this has happened before. This is historical. This has happened in history and in a way continues to happen today. Aside from that, T looks up what temperature bleach freezes, and that made me start to think. That allowed me to start thinking, you make a point. How would they have that bleach ready for them? They were just randomly catching bleach. If this was just an attack that came out of nowhere, then how would they just happen to have some bleach? You know, and what were they doing walking around in the polar vortex? And what was Jussie doing walking around in the polar vortex at 20 below 0 just to get Subway? And in my opinion, I gave him a slight benefit of the doubt because I've been to college, okay? I used to live on campus housing. I used to live on campus when I was in college, and, we had this diner that was open until 2, 3 a.m. And sometimes it will be bitter cold, but some people want their food. Now, you can give me a little side eye because that's still on campus. No one's going off campus to get some food, but you never know. Some people are brave, bold, and desperate. So some people will actually go out of their way to withstand bitter cold, bitter heat, long distances just because they want to get some damn food. Okay, so I would not necessarily have put that too past him before this new evidence came out. So I slightly gave him the benefit of the doubt there a little bit too, because I've done it where, the diner on my campus was open till 2 a.m. It's 10, 12 a.m. I want some food. I'm literally going to go out of my dorm and go to the dining hall where it's open, use my meal exchange, and, just get my food. There was even this little thing called a marketplace, which was like a mini grocery store that was open 1 a.m. on our campus, and I would take the time to go there, get a little snack and whatnot. It didn't matter. It was like 12 in the morning, but it was still open, so I was going there. Okay, so aside from that, that is something to side-eye him about as well. But aside from that, so he's saying he's going to get a Subway, 2 people happen to recognize him, and now people are saying, well, how could they have recognized you? This is the polar vortex. You would have been very strapped up, covered your face. How would they have known that that was you necessarily? So aside from that, now you have people. I think the first person to really call him out of the LGBTQ community was Milan Christopher. And, he said, hey, I supported you for the first 24, 48 hours. And then now when I read back at the story, I'm giving you the side eye. And I don't really think that this attack was out of nowhere. I don't believe what you said, because who was walking out there 2 a.m. in downtown Chicago, which I'm from, and there would be a lot of witnesses. This is a heavily populated area. Who's going to get Subway? Haven't you heard of Grubhub, DoorDash, and, Uber Eats and whatnot? So you could have called someone to get you food. Why are you going out there of your way in the polar vortex? No one's going out in this bitter cold. And a lot of that does make sense. Now, he was also saying that, hey, this was like a date gone wrong. You were out there getting some street meat. You were on Grindr, and they said, let's hook up at this place and this time. And you were that horny and and desperate, and you know, there are a bunch of like straight male homophobes individuals who are looking to meet up gay guys just to set them up and beat them up. And I don't know if that's really true. I wouldn't be surprised if it is. Actually, no, I take that back. I actually do believe that's true. There are people of the LGBTQ community that have been set up just to get beat up, attacked, assaulted under the guise that they wanted to get hooked up with some person. Okay, so I'm not too surprised. But I mean, a Tinder date gone wrong. Is Jussie really out there like doing his stuff? Because I think you would think he would be a little more careful just to not go on random Grindr dates, you know what I'm saying? But then again, who knows what people do behind closed doors. A lot of people were speculating that this was just a date gone wrong, and because he was assaulted by some people looking to beat up gay guys, then you know what I'm saying, he made up all that stuff because he was just embarrassed. And you know how some people will actually lie and exaggerate and just stretch the truth because they're just too embarrassed to admit what happened and how it happened. So when Milan Christopher said this was a Tinder date gone wrong or a Grindr date gone wrong, then okay, that is something to think about. But I definitely did not take Milan Christopher's word for it, because you know what, in my opinion, Milan has been known to be very messy and problematic, and even though he is of the LGBTQ community, I do not really take his word seriously. I'd rather someone else give their criticism and someone else of the LGBTQ community give their criticism towards Jussie, which people have in that community, they have, but I'd rather someone else who is not known to be problematic and messy and full of ish, because you have people of the LGBTQ community calling out Milan Christopher on his mess and things like that. I really believe like he was just the wrong messenger, okay? Right message, wrong messenger. I did not heed his word when he said you were out getting some street meat. Even Jussie responded to say, hey, frauds are everywhere, you know what I mean? And Milan Christopher may be right in his case. Just because he happens to be right in this case does not mean I would have heeded his word, okay? So now it's all come out. Now he's claiming these were two white masked men. You know, he put a lot of sauce on it, okay? And now we see that two Nigerian brothers were arrested. So how did it go from being two white masked men to being two Nigerian brothers, who now we find out that they were extras on Empire, so Jussie knows them. So that's why they're saying, okay, this is all suspicious. Some people are like, I never believed this from the start. People who are originally believing him are starting to just, you know, fall apart and say, this is not looking right, this is not sounding right. So how did it go from two white masked men, white MAGA hat wearing Trump supporters, white supremacists, homophobes, to these Nigerian men, two black Nigerian men, okay? And then they're saying they know you. They're now saying that you pay them to do this, okay? And then their video surveillance of them like buying the hats and, you know, things like that. So that was very suspicious. That was very suspect, okay? And yeah, that had the story very unraveling, you know? Like they say, the rabbit hole goes deeper. But I find it funny that it's now these two Nigerian brothers and there's like a whole list of connections. So now that we found out it's these two brothers and they're kind of snitching right now, okay? They're really out here saying some things. So, and that is really putting the spotlight, the negative spotlight on Jussie. So now you have more and more people not believing him, and now that he's been arrested, you have people really falling back and just being very disappointed. And even when the story was falling apart a little bit, especially when now we found out these two Nigerian brothers, it's starting to seem like, you know, it's just a bad situation. And I have more to say about this, okay? So let me get my thoughts together and let me just, you know, take my time with this. So these Nigerian brothers are singing like canaries, okay? They're singing like canaries, and you know, their surveillance of them buying all the stuff that they said was being used. Now, Jussie came out at a performance, and I found it weird, like, how are you performing, moving, grinding, dancing, doing all that work, and you were apparently injured? Your ribs were apparently broken. I'm saying, shouldn't you wait a few weeks to heal? You know what I'm saying? So that was also suspect to me even. That was definitely suspect to me. But then he came out, read off of a card, read off of a piece of paper and said, hey, my ribs were not bruised. My ribs were not broken. They were bruised. It's not anything like the blog said, like the report said. They said I had a messed up clavicle because he came on Robin Williams' show and said I have a messed up clavicle. That's what they said. It wasn't anything like the blogs and the tabloids were saying. So in my opinion, I looked at that and said, okay, the reason he was silent until now was because he needed to rest up. He just needed to like recover a little bit. So, and judging by what he said, I guess the damage wasn't as extensive as the news reports were saying, because they were saying he was hospitalized and he said, no, I wasn't hospitalized. I just went to the doctor and got cleared and checked out. They said, okay, yeah, your clavicle was messed up, but my ribs were bruised, not broken or cracked like they were saying. So in my opinion, I was thinking, okay, maybe it's not him that's lying, but it's the blogs and the tabloids and, the news reports, especially the independent, low grade, not too trustworthy news reports. You have people putting out fake news. You have people exaggerating the truth. You have people, who basically just want to put out a story with a catchy headline or, a buzzworded headline and story just to get clicks, likes, and views and shares and things like that. Because I do see nowadays that there is definitely a lack of journalistic integrity. And I agree. It's like very few people are actually taking the time to look at facts versus to see what news they can get out quickly and what news they can get out that's catchy and what news they can get out that'll get them seen. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you're small time independent news networks or, news companies or journalism companies. And now I've taken journalism in college, okay? Communications was my minor. So I've taken journalism in college. And boy, let me tell you, the professor that I had for my intro to journalism class, she was pretty much tough as nails. She was really trying to get us into doing the nitty gritty of not only writing, but investigating and interviewing and reporting news. Okay, she was really training us to be journalists, even though I never thought journalism was my thing. I don't think I'll ever pursue a career in journalism. But what she taught us was, yes, the true definition of being a journalist is to tell the truth. No exaggeration. If you could word it smartly, of course, you have to have a powerful lead, L-E-D-E. That's what they call it in writing a piece, a lead. Your lead is what grabs people's attention. So when they were saying things like, okay, these were MAGA Trump supporters with a noose around his neck, throwing bleach on him, because the initial report said an unknown chemical substance, and then we're hearing it's bleach. So that's what I'm saying. Are you sure it's bleach? Because it said one thing 1 minute and then another thing another minute. Has it been confirmed that this was bleach? Were this from his mouth, Jussie's mouth, or is it from what the news and the blogs and the other reports are saying? Now, granted, well-known, trustworthy news networks like Eyewitness and, NBC and CBS and all that stuff that we're used to hearing, I'm a little more, I guess, obliged or inclined to take their word for it because they're trustworthy. But then again, we don't know. We have news networks that even though they're up there, there's still a bias to a certain degree. So you know what, especially Fox. Oh, I don't even necessarily want to bring their name out, but especially them. Okay? So we know that in some news cases there is a bias. You have people like the Shade Room who has become very popular, is very popular, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're a true journalistic page. They're just a blog who puts out stuff and we pay attention. I don't follow them at all, but somehow they always end up in my Instagram Explore feed. So that's how I know what's going on in the celebrity world, like in the Shade Room and Baller Alert and the industry on blast. That's how I know, because they're always somehow in my Explore feed. But yeah, so I'm thinking, okay, well, before we say he's lying, how about we think about the blogs and the tabloids and, the news reports that, constantly exaggerate, lie, that are not credible or reputable, that also have known to be non-credible or incredible and reputable and non-reputable. You know what I'm saying? So I sort of still gave him the benefit of the doubt because the news report said his ribs were broken, but he's saying, oh no, they weren't broken like the news was saying. It was bruised. So I'm thinking, okay, we've known fake news and news places and blogs and stuff to exaggerate, to straight up lie, to straight up put sauce on everything just so they can get likes, clicks, and views. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking maybe it's just the blogs and the tabloids. Now, another thing too, the phone records. Think about the phone records. When I first heard that he didn't want to give his phone up, I'm saying, okay, that's a little bit suspect, because why don't you want to give your phone up? I mean, and then when he finally gave the phone, they said there were redacted phone records. That was hella suspect, because I'm thinking, okay, you withhold it, then when you finally give it, they're saying something's missing. Okay? So now that he gave the phone finally after refusing the first time, it seems like you have something to hide. But I will say this, there's where I'm slightly giving him the benefit of the doubt. He claims that he has like pictures, he has phone numbers of his family, he doesn't want that out, you know what I'm saying? And in some tiny case, I really do understand. A lot of people saying that they believe him, that they still believe him even after his arrest and stuff. They're saying, oh, we can't trust the Chicago PD because the Chicago PD can't be trusted, okay? They're the same ones who covered up Sandra Bland, who covered up Laquan McDonald, who let R. Kelly get away with kidnapping girls. They're not so innocent either. And yes, because they're not so innocent, I understand why people are a lot more hesitant to believe that Jussie is lying, or to believe Jussie was lying. So I understand that as well, because yes, the Chicago PD really can't be trusted. Jussie claims on Robin Williams, I said Robin Williams, I am so sorry, I meant Robin Roberts. Oh, I am so super sorry. So he claims when he was doing an interview with Robin Roberts that the reason he did not give up his phone is because of all the numbers and pictures that he doesn't want to get out. And I've heard things like this before, that sometimes when the cops swab you for your DNA and, you know, they scan your fingerprints and, you know, take your mugshot photo, especially if you're like a celebrity, sometimes they will sell your DNA to the tabloids and, you know, your fingerprints and your information to the tabloids and blogs. They'll sell it to the highest bidder. They'll sell it to higher ups who could probably keep tabs on you. So if you think about it, because I've heard this before in documentaries like Hidden Colors 3, it was mentioned that this does happen. So I understand to a certain extent, not even to a certain extent, I understand greatly why he may have said, I don't want my information to get out there. And he's a celebrity, maybe not Beyonce level, but he's a well-known celebrity. You could say, who's checking for your sister's phone? Who's checking? Anyone could. You have people who will get near small-time celebrities or anyone relevant to a small-time celebrity just to chase some clout, just to get some money. Why do you think so many strippers and so many like groupies want to have a baby by a rapper? Even if he's a small-time rapper, but if he's well-known in some way or getting a couple hundred or couple $1,000s a week or a night, they think they've hit the jackpot. They're trying to secure the bag. So you never know. So before you say, even though his sister and his family could change their numbers if they get out there, the whole point is still, that's a very lengthy process. Even if some people can still find their way back to them or to him if his information gets out there. And since the Chicago PD can't be trusted from what people say, and I believe so, since they can't be trusted, I do see his side of the story in why he did not want to give the phone. But I'm saying at the same time, if you have nothing to hide, then why so hesitant to give up the phone? And then they're saying redacted phone records. But then again, since the Chicago PD can't be trusted, maybe they're lying on him. You never know. When Lovely T said that comparing the Laquan McDonald situation to this situation is like apples to oranges, I disagree slightly, because yes, in terms of the crime, yes, it definitely is apples to oranges. But the fact that the Chicago PD and a lot of law enforcement just can't be trusted, especially when it comes to us, to people of marginalized groups, it's really hard to believe that that's apples to oranges. So you never know. So as a celebrity, I do agree that maybe they will be more willing to help, but then again, he's still a person of a marginalized group. He's a person that belongs to two marginalized groups. So they'll probably lie on him, sell his information. Maybe he'll redact the phone records. Now, did they say exactly what redacted phone records that was? Maybe they were redacted phone records, but was it of the Nigerian brothers? Was it calls or texts between everyone and anyone involved? They just said redacted phone records. Think about that. But yes, I do heed people's word when they're saying, hey, something's not adding up. Even in the interview, he was kind of, you know, I don't say weird, but it's like he said one thing 1 minute and then he went on the interview and said a whole different thing. So I'm saying, yeah, things are just not adding up. Now, granted, that the fact that this most likely at this point, I would say a good 99.9% this looks like a lie, because I feel in my heart of hearts that Jussie did not plan this, nor did he plan it by himself. I do not believe that he is the mastermind behind this plan. I believe this is all the work of Lee Daniels, probably to promote Empire. Because I've been hearing, like, you know, Empire wasn't getting the ratings that it was getting. You know, people fell off after season 3, 4. And to be honest, I see where people are coming from, because the storyline is definitely shifting. But in my opinion, I actually like Empire a little bit better than the first 2 seasons. Let me tell you this. The first 2 seasons of Empire were nothing but a full-blown minstrel show. Like, in my opinion, it was just full-blown characters with a bunch of stereotypes and a bunch of things that we experience in the Black community. And it's one thing to call it art, but the fact that this show was on Fox, and we know how Fox is, especially when it comes to marginalized groups, we know it's a conservative network, we know it's a racist, homophobic, sexist network, we know it really seeks to demonize and dehumanize the images of people, especially Black people. So the fact that, I've said this before to people, hey, I like Empire, I just don't like that it's on Fox, okay? And a lot of people agree, like, yes, yeah, Empire's good, but take it off of Fox. So the fact that people said the first 2 seasons, I'm a little bit iffy about that, because it was just full-blown stereotypes that, and we're trying to change our image here. And I feel like the shift in the image was a little bit better these few seasons than it has been, you know, before, than it has been the first 2 seasons, because it was just nothing but stereotypes, nothing but, you know, a minstrel show, nothing but all these, you know, negative things that either we create or the white supremacist dominant society has created. So, of course, I could not really stand Empire in terms of the overbearing, overwhelming amount of stereotypes being portrayed. I mean, think about it. Andre was the successful, smart, intelligent brother who just happens to marry a white woman, okay? And of course, he has bipolar disorder, which I felt like was very necessary to see, because we need to see mental health in the Black community be addressed. We need to stop ignoring mental health and only bringing it up when we're trying to compare 2 different races when it comes to a criminal case. Okay, that is just annoying. Okay, we need to talk about it all the time, and we need to stop, you know, telling people they're being over dramatic when they're depressed, when they have suicidal thoughts. Do I think some people over exaggerate? Yes, but sometimes it really starts off small and then builds up and works its way up. Okay, so we need to, you know, we need to really address mental health. But aside from that, you know, that was Andre Jamal's the gay guy who gets shunned from his community because he's gay. It's like you get your black card revoked when you're LGBTQ in the Black community, even though the LGBTQ community and Black women are the ones who really ride or die for the Black community more than anyone else. So I find it funny how you wanna push us out, but then at the same time, you know, if we decide, okay, we don't want to deal with you anymore, then we're the problem again. So that was Jamal. Hakeem, you know, the loudmouth, out of control. He kind of reminded me of Riley from the Boondocks. You know, out of control, not disciplined, spoiled, hot mess, going crazy, partying, you know, basically emulating the stereotypical rapper, you know what I'm saying? Lucius Lyon, the Brood, Lucius Lyon, you know, the dominant businessman, Lucius Lyon, the guy who made it, so now he thinks he's not Black anymore, you know, Cookie, the ghetto, loudmouth Black woman with anger issues and a lot of attitude, who basically sacrificed everything she did for the Black man, and then, you know, you see how he betrayed her, things like that, you know what I'm saying? But as the seasons went on, I thought the whole storyline was shifting and getting much better. I did not like the overblown, overwhelming amount of stereotypes it was in the first 2 seasons, but the later on it started to get better. So people are saying that Jussie did this for attention. Now, granted, I don't know him. I've never known him to be problematic. No one has ever known him to be problematic. Him cursing out Trump is something that a lot of people have been doing. So that is not problematic in my opinion. Morally and technically, maybe, yes. But come on now. Everybody was getting mad at Trump. Everybody was cursing out Trump. Everybody was giving their opinions about Trump, okay? He's not the only one in this, okay? So that is just, completely off the table. But I've never known him to be problematic other than that. Okay? He's not known to be out here caught up in some effery. But this is why I don't believe that he masterminded this plan. I believe that Lee Daniels put him up to this, okay? Because we've known Lee Daniels to be a bit shady. We've known him to, do things and say things. And, we saw how Dame Dash had to confront him about $2 million. We've known him to play people. So I really believe that if this is a lie, since this is a lie and it's starting to look like a lie, this is the work of Lee Daniels. And a conspiracy theory has come out from multiple people saying that, okay, this is probably an inside job. This is politically motivated because notice after the incident with Jussie, you had people like Cory Booker and Kamala Harris coming and speaking out about this, calling this a modern day lynching because, the noose around his neck, which he has run back like a little necklace. He just had the noose around his neck running back. They said, okay, well, you didn't go immediately to the cops. You didn't call 911 eventually. It's like 45 minutes later, then you call the cops. So what's good? But anyway, Cory Booker and everybody calling this a modern day lynching, and and then an anti-lynching bill gets passed. I think in Atlanta, correct me if I'm wrong, but an anti-lynching bill gets passed, and that is the fact that it happened so abruptly, quickly, and you have Kamala Harris, running for president. You have Cory Booker claiming to run for president. So the connection and the fact that Lee Daniels and Kamala Harris know each other, and the fact that Kamala Harris and Jussie know each other, it's starting to feel like, maybe Lee Daniels put this plan together and just eventually introduced Kamala Harris to the idea and said this could work in your favor. My thing is this. I don't necessarily believe Kamala Harris had anything to do with it, like she knew something was up, but I do believe maybe Lee Daniels or even just herself on her own judgment convinced her that this could just work in her favor. And now that it's coming out to be a lie, then suddenly these two same people, they're being quiet. So maybe they're trying to distance themselves because, again, one thing I notice about us, we're too embarrassed. When we have the egg on our face, we're just too embarrassed. We would rather deflect. We would rather not talk about it. We would rather stay quiet. And in some cases, staying quiet is smart instead of saying anything. But, we would rather just not talk about it in order to feel like, we had nothing to do with it because we're way too embarrassed to admit that we were wrong or we messed up. You know what I'm saying? So I will say this. Maybe she didn't know about it. I wouldn't want her to feel like, I wouldn't want her to know about it. I would want her to be an named associate in all of this. And what I mean by that is I would like her to be the person who just got involved and didn't know that there was an ulterior motive. You know what I mean? And this is why I believe this was set up by Lee Daniels. Has this come out that 100% proof that this is a lie? This is why I believe this was set up by Lee Daniels, not only for ratings for Empire and Jussie's music, because you had Taraji P. Henson saying go listen to his music, go, and then in the video there was a guy with a noose around his neck, so something, people are putting two and two together. But the reason I believe this was set up by him was because he came out on Instagram and said, Jussie, you were my son, you don't deserve this to happen to you, but his demeanor didn't seem like he was angry, and you could say maybe he has a mild temper, because I see him very, very nonchalant in a lot of stuff, but it did not come out as super, super concerned. He was really nonchalant about the Jussie situation when he initially came out, and he only came out once that I know of, and again, he's being quiet. And okay, I've heard this other thing being mentioned as to why people didn't believe this from the start, because some people were saying, well, how did two white MAGA Trump supporters know who you were? Because white people, racist white people, do not watch Empire. You know what I'm saying? Well, how do they know who you were? We're your core audience. So how do you know that it was racist white people? How did they recognize you? How would they recognize you when your face is covered up in that mask? How would they? Now, granted, black folks, don't necessarily dismiss that. Do not necessarily dismiss it, okay? Do not be so quick to dismiss the idea that this could still be possible and they can still recognize him. Think about it. They do not like us, okay? These anti-black, anti-LGBTQ, anti-marginalized group people, they do not like us, but they cannot stay the hell out of our business or out of our culture. Like, notice how we always talk about men. Everybody wants to be black till it's time to be black. Nobody wants to be black. You know, everybody wants to be a marginalized group until it's time to deal with the oppression and the suffering. You know, they want the supposed benefits, you know, and I use quotes because not everything is a win, even though it's a progression. You know what I'm saying? We're not there yet. But everybody wants the supposed benefits that come with being part of a marginalized group. But when it gets really serious, then they're like, oh, I'm out. You know what I mean? So don't hold it past them, because we claim all the time, man, these races, they hate us, they don't like us, but they love our culture though. I mean, there was a Klan member, it came out like months back, sometime in 2018, that there was a KKK rally, and there was one of the guys at the KKK rally wearing dreadlocks. So think about it. I would not hold it past that, the fact that even though we know this is a lie, right? Even though that happened, let's say for instance it did happen for real, okay? Don't be so quick to dismiss the idea that white racist people do not watch what black folks are doing, okay? They claim to hate us, but they always want to be in every single piece of shit we're doing, okay? They always want to be around us. They always want to be a part of our culture. Or not always, but you know what I'm saying, because you would say like a true racist would separate themselves from us completely, okay? But let's just be real. You have some of them who don't like us, who have negative views on us, who only listen to the negative stereotypes about us, but they are always like up in our culture. You get this? Empire is a show on Fox. Fox is a conservative network. Fox is a racist network. So racist white folks, they watch Fox. Okay? You could say they don't like black folks, so they don't watch us. They watch Fox, and Empire is on Fox. So think about that for a minute, okay? So even though this is a lie, don't necessarily think the reason this was a lie was because white people don't watch Fox. Don't watch Empire. Don't think about that. Don't think about it like that, okay? Don't be so quick to dismiss it, okay? Because you say, oh, white people don't watch Empire. They watch Fox. Empire's on Fox. They can't stay the hell out of our culture, though they say they don't like us. So miss me with that, okay? But yeah, I am very disappointed at Jussie. I don't know why he needed to lie. And to be honest, like I said, this is probably a plan by Lee Daniels. Who knows? He probably threatened Jussie with his life. He probably threatened him with his career. And now it's come out that his character was being cut from Empire. I don't know how they're going to go on with the show. Conspiracy theory. If you ever saw the last episode of Empire before they had the season finale, the mid-season finale, there's a casket. There is a casket. I originally thought it would have either been Cookie or Lucius's illegitimate son by White Tracy. Now, since Jussie's character has been cut, it might just be Jamal in that casket. It might just be Jamal. I mean, since his character is cut, they may have found a great way to find a body for the casket. So, in my opinion, his character's cut. There's a casket. Conspiracy time. Conspiracy theory. But yes, I am just very disappointed at Jussie. But like I said, I think we should really be pointing fingers at Lee Daniels, because we've known him to be problematic, but not Jussie. And of course, like you said, the Nigerian brothers were paid by Jussie, and that they knew him, and, you know, things like that. Some people were calling them trades, and apparently trades is like a term they use for men on the down low. So I've never heard trades before, but apparently that's what it is. I was talking to someone about this very same situation and why I'm starting to believe that, you know, things don't add up. This is probably made up, and, you know, Lee Daniels set this up. And they were saying, hey, until 100% proof comes out that he was lying, I still believe him, because the Chicago PD cannot be trusted. This person was very adamant. And this person is also of the LGBTQ community, and I respect them so much. But they were like, you know what? until the 100% concrete, can't make it up, can't cover it up proof comes out that he was in fact lying, which even if it does come out, something tells me they're not going to believe it. But if there was 100% concrete proof that shows that, then I am still believing him, and I understand it. Now, another talking point I have to come out with is the homophobia. Now, Jussie was saying that if he was ever attacked by someone Black, Muslim, Latino, or any other marginalized group, people would believe it faster, because they were saying what's messed up is the fact that you were mad that people didn't believe you versus the fact that it happened. You know what I'm saying? Things like that. And that kind of is problematic. And in some way, shape, or form, although he's kind of using truth, not even kind of, but although he's using truth as a deflection, because I hate when people do that, okay? He makes a point, because a lot of times we have seen that in history. White woman said she was raped by a Black man, a person of color, male of color. You know, this Black person did something. You get the lynch mob, everything. They've been convicted of the murders. They've been lynched, and all to come and find out it was a lie. We saw what happened with Emmett Till. We saw that. So of course he makes a point when he says, and you know there's homophobia going on in our community. So if he said that he was attacked by someone, a person of color, and we know how people of color, and we know how people in the Black community, I come from a Jamaican family. Jamaicans are definitely very homophobic. So I understand. I'm not gonna say, although he's using this as a deflection, he's not 100% wrong. He's definitely not wrong. You have some of us, even on the internet, you have a lot of them who say, oh, I don't ride for gay brothers. I don't do this, I do that. But he's not 100% wrong when he says if a person of color was the one who attacked him, they would be out there looking for this person. They would be out there with the lynch mob ready. They would be out, ride or die, trying to find this person. Now, for those of you who said that the reason people believe this report so quickly, because I understand there are people who said, okay, because you still have the homophobes, the low-key and high-key homophobes coming out saying that the reason people believe this story was because he's gay. Now, I do believe that has a part to play in it, but in my opinion, if you really think about it, the main reason people originally believed this, most people originally believe this and somewhat still believe him, is the fact that he is Jussie Smollett. He is a celebrity, okay? Because let's just be honest, when the N-word was spray painted on LeBron James, we all rushed to his side. And in some cases never questioned it. Some cases, you probably have the naysayers, but you had most of us really going to ride for him. So I don't even believe it's because he's gay. Him being gay is probably just a bonus, but let's just be real. The main reason people believe him is because he is a celebrity. Stuff like this truly happen to people of the LGBTQ community, Black people, women, other marginalized groups all the time. It's been historic, that happens a lot. And their stories don't always get reported. Okay, you know what I mean? So before you say there's this gay agenda, because you hear this a lot from these mushmouth hoteps and anti-LGBTQ individuals. Oh, it's because he's gay. What happens to when a straight Black man gets shot down? Oh no, that was always reported, okay? Well, there are a lot of people within more marginalized groups within communities of color that don't get their stories told. Just because things are changing now and in a way kind of rapidly does not mean that they're necessarily winning, okay? I'm so sick of people now that the focus can be on the LGBT community as well as other marginalized groups. It's like now we're taking away from our problems. I can't stand you mushmouth hoteps. You never look at the bigger picture. It's just that now other people are being included, and the change is happening so rapidly than it did in the 90s and beyond, in the 90s and prior, that somehow your rights are being taken away. You sound just as stupid as these white folks you claim to be fighting. I do not like to compare LGBTQ issues to Black issues. I always say that's apples and bananas and apples and oranges. But at the same time, it's two marginalized groups who want a certain end result that, you can't be fighting all the time with each other. Even though, let's be real, LGBTQ individuals, especially you white ones, you're not exempt from being problematic. I'm sorry. I had my reservations with Caitlyn Jenner, okay? I was not going to give her my support just because she was trans, okay? Just like I will not give my support to Milan Christopher just because he's gay, okay? So don't think that, even as a supporter of that community and as someone who when someone is homophobic, I try to educate them and I try to go hard in the paint for them. Don't think that just because, I go hard in the paint for certain marginalized groups that I am not about calling them out on their BS, okay? Let's just miss me with that and miss a lot of people with that, okay? But anyway, I do agree that there are a level of people who are walking on eggshells with the LGBTQ community. And this is why I'd rather hear from LGBTQ individuals who are not problematic calling Jussie out. Because some people say the only reason you never believed this from the get-go was because he's gay. And in some cases, even though that may not have been the case, I understand why people see it that way. Because there are some of you low-key homophobes who say, this never made sense from the start. Did you even take the time to research, to investigate, to do your own due diligence? Or did you say, oh yeah, it didn't sound like this from the start? Like, I find it hard to believe that low-key homophobic individuals or non-LGBTQ individuals who say that they believe that this was a lie from the start is because they just believe that it was a lie from the start. How do you know that there isn't some low-key homophobic bias that you have still inside of you making that decision? So I find it very, very funny. So this is why I can't take them too seriously, and I'd rather hear someone who's finding this problematic who is of the LGBTQ community who isn't problematic. So I'd rather hear it from them. I always say, if you do not want to hear the criticism coming from outside of your community, hear it coming from inside of your community. So it makes it better, because chances are the person inside of your community has more leeway and cares more about it. They're not trying to give you the criticism to necessarily hurt you all the time, but they're trying to give you the criticism because you are not above accountability. So yeah, anyway, that's my take on it, guys. I do think there is more to say and more to come out with. Give me your opinions, give me your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I want to hear your thoughts about this situation. There's a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of people still talking. There's some people even still believing him even after his arrest, because again, people can't trust the Chicago PD. And I feel like one of the reasons people don't want to say that this is a lie is because they just don't want to believe it. Because what I hate about this situation is that since it's starting to look and coming out that this is a lie, it gives a bad look to real individuals. It takes away from real victims. You know what I'm saying? There are people who do get attacked like this. Regular schmegular people who don't have a celebrity platform or money or people to behind their back supporting them, and they're doing this all on their own, and they have to fight this battle by themselves. So it does look bad for real victims. And it's kind of like the Me Too movement. It's like another Me Too movement. You had real victims who had this platform, and it's been hijacked by, these white feminist white women and, celebrities exaggerating their claims of abuse and assault, and just for views, just for clout. So that is just a very much a problem. So yes, tell me what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and you know what? I will see you in the next video.